Welcome back to another episode of Demons and Gentlemen. I'm Tattedalpha. To my right is the
Greg.
lovely Greg.
It's just Greg.
Just Greg. Welcome,
Just
mortals, friends, foes, and all you hoes.
All you hoes, I guess. But no. Yeah, welcome back to another episode. What is this now? Episode 2?
Episode
Off and
2.
running.
The first official pilot kind of counts as episode 1. We had a productive day in terms of studio and podcast and planning and whatnot. So it's a good day, and now we're in the studio divulging and recording for you guys. So
yeah, that's right.
Get it going.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been pretty busy lately. I feel like we've had a lot going on, a lot of things, a lot of moving parts just between personal life and work life. We've been stacking it up here lately, huh?
Yeah, that seems to be the never-ending bout. I think it's a matter of how much you're gonna get your ass kicked on a weekly basis and how much you can handle before you're just like, all right, fuck it, I'm over it.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that it's been hectic here lately, between the work travel, the new spot up in Raleigh. And
just a little insight and everything. We won't go into too much detail unless he wants to, but quick synopsis. Greg here, corporate guy, suit and tie. You might have caught that in the last episode. Myself, teetotal opposite. Blue collar.
Yes.
In a harness, safety vest, steel toes, out in the wild, sweating.
He swings
giblets.
a hammer.
Sometimes swing a hammer, use an impact. I work with elevators.
Yeah.
But no, teetotal opposites, different work lives, very different backgrounds when it comes to working and our work environment. And we both travel in some regards to our job. He travels a little bit more frequently out of state, and won't go into too much detail unless he chooses to. But he has also made some life changes recently. So, moving and investing in him and his new journey and chapter and things. So
definitely, yeah. No,
it's been hectic on all fronts. Honestly.
Yeah, it's been hectic on all fronts. It's been a hectic year. 2025 and 2024. They honestly have been two of the most challenging years of my life, I would have to say. For the privacy of myself and a lot of other people who know about what's going on, I'll keep that really to myself. But it's been challenging. A lot of growth opportunities within that. I'm still here, still moving forward, taking the bull by its horns on this next chapter for sure. And I will say from a lot of it, I do have a lot of perspective and thoughts and reflections on really the last couple of years. So maybe you'll get some sneak peeks and some snippets as we dive into some of our things that we talk on a weekly basis, monthly basis, you name it. But you'll get it out of me at some point.
I think the reason kind of why we left the first episode, and we may be rambling a little bit, but we all kind of do it, so fuck off. The reason why we didn't give so much information and stuff about who we are individually and as friends and our friendship and stuff the last episode is because naturally that's going to come out in almost everything we talk about. And I mean emphasis on naturally. Like, we naturally just tend to bring up some of the key points as to why we're friends and why we still get along and why we still, kind of collaborate and do our thing, and also how it kind of pertains to where we are now and just looking back at where we come from. And I think a lot of times, more so as men, I think we tend to kind of overlook that and kind of just brush it off and like roll with the days and the weeks and the things that come and pass us by. And it kind of gets us into our topic today a little bit. What did we say we were going to name this exactly?
Yeah, I mean,
the Monocle and the Monster.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I think it touches on an overall theme of just how in the world today, a lot of people have to appear and seem so prim and proper in a space, and have a hard time really opening up and being who they are, organically in a more public space, and a space where that might, be challenging and uncomfortable to most. So, I mean, I just really encourage people, and, the overarching theme of, this episode is to just be yourself and own it and own who you are, and, put your best foot forward and be out there.
I think, we can dive in a little bit deeper there, and we called it the Monocle and the Monster and things, to elaborate a little bit further on that. The monocle, the piece where you prim and proper, you have to socially fit into the everyday, environment in which you're encased in and present upon at whatever moment. And then the monster being, kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of, the monsters within and the demons that you're fighting internally and personally, and as well as, the demons that you're battling amongst other people, other situations, at your job, and
especially
and
in
not
today's
just
world.
yourself.
It's that court of public opinion. It's really, really bad, in today's world. Is everybody has something to say.
You're right. And you guys give me a lot of grief for not wanting to leave the house and nicknamed me Dracula or vampire or whatever. But you guys suck out there. No. I'm staying here, all right?
Dracula's for sure. Literally, this dude is afraid of the sun. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Benchwarmers, but Howie, who drinks the sunblock.
I do not eat sunblock.
Literally, you do. Because if you don't, somebody's going to be on that ass by close of business, and we know exactly how that's going to go.
That's only if I put it on my skin, and
it's a bat, not a sword. Anyways.
Whatever.
But no, yeah, I think it's interesting, to kind of go this route, with a topic for today, just kind of jumping into our first episode. And, bear with us, honestly. Like, I just want to call something out, as these episodes will continue to go. We'll get better as the episodes go on. I mean, we're just a couple of,
Average
guys,
Joes.
just a couple of guys starting a podcast to talk and, create a space and, use our voice and just kind of get out there. So the more we go, the more we'll get comfortable, and the more these will get better and better. But right now we're shaking the rust off. It's been a while since we've gotten in and started talking and doing all this stuff. Like we did in the past. So we'll definitely get sharper as the weeks go on. But I just kind of wanted to bring that up and hold some space for it, just because I know if we seem stiff, that's why. We're just getting loose. We're getting back into it.
Yeah, and that's always going to be a thing. It's always going to seem shaky. It's always going to seem a little more rocky, but the reason being is we're trying to do it a little bit more off the cuff. We're trying to do a little less bullet point style and a little more free flow discussion, open floor, open dialogue. And typically in our friendship and even just like our day-to-day banter, it benefits us most because that's usually how we operate, is very open dialogue, open banter. And come to dive into that a little bit more in terms of our topic and overall theme and stuff of the show is, I feel like as men, we tend to navigate amongst men and women in general, but in any group or small group setting, we tend to kind of, open up and chit chat and things like that, but we don't really communicate. We don't really dive in. We kind of hide behind our words and hide behind the things that we say, in a sense that we're just floating within that space just to get by, as opposed to talking and communicating and being a part of the conversation on a deeper level. I feel like a lot of men don't actually do that these days. Do you share my opinion on that?
Yeah,
or?
No, I definitely do. And I can speak from personal experience on it, actually. I know for me in particular, I went many years without communicating things. And from stuff in my childhood to stuff as an adult, even up to present day, I can, remember back, many years where I wasn't communicating about things, and it was impacting, how I was on a day-to-day basis. And, for example, like I remember there was a time where I was just holding so much stuff. And I think one of the best analogies that I've heard when it comes to temperament and that surrounds communication is like, think of a glass bottle that has a cork on the top of it. And the more that you hold on to and try to stuff into the bottle, the more pressure that's going to build up in that bottle. And then the cork is just going to shoot out of the bottle at some point, or the glass is going to break.
Yeah.
And so I think that stuff that you hold on to, the more you choose to hold on to, the more you're just going to start compounding things. And then I personally feel like you'll run yourself into the ground. I mean, a couple years back, from all of the stuff that was just going uncommunicated in my life, I was sitting there and I remember it. I was just going to a regular doctor's appointment and I was having a panic attack in the middle of the road. I got out of the car and I don't know what triggered it or really what brought it on, but panic attacks are things that I've dealt, with off and on throughout my life. But that was probably the most jaw-dropping and knee-dropping one where I'm kind of in the middle of the street, dropped to my knees, just having a full-fledged panic attack. And then that, went on and on for a few months thereafter. I know a lot of the inner details on behind that, but it was something that, I faced, and a big part of that was because I wasn't communicating.
Yeah.
Communication is, a key piece to success, whether it's in your job, life, relationship building, anything. We have to talk and, share our voice, and, that's how change is going to happen and start, is by we all have to stand up and use our voice. So I think it's really important.
I think communicating is very important. And again, I just want to reiterate this point. Jesus Christ. It may or may not be midnight when we're recording this. Leave us alone. It's why there's a monster sitting there. I want to reiterate this point, and we are talking from the guy's perspective about how men operate and seem to navigate as an individual in any and all spaces. Now, I am not speaking for every man, nor is he probably speaking for every man, but in a generalized sense, we are talking and discussing how men kind of think, breathe, associate, non-associate, disassociate, and tend to, shy away from certain things, and then are more vocal and adamant when it comes to certain things.
Right.
So it's kind of, to shed a little light, but also kind of give a open floor to the other men out there, and also you women that care to listen and want to interject, and also, understand why we are how we are and things like that. Now, that's not to say that there might not be some spicy topics about you women and the things that you do and stuff. We'll get to you. Don't worry.
We will.
But I just want to reiterate that point, because it's very important that, we're not calling anybody out. We're not signaling anybody in particular to be like, you're doing it wrong or anything like that. It's more so just to be on the presumption that, we all do it. We all go through it. We all deal with it. We all are creatures of habit in our own way of making, I don't want to say mistakes, but we all make, decisions that are both good and bad about moving forward and, also staying in the same revolving door in the broad spectrum of things. I'm not talking about any specific scenario or situation, but, sometimes we are our own worst enemy. We are our own worst demon. And, sometimes demons aren't bad. It's all in the perception and the thought process behind it, and how you choose to navigate and how you choose to operate. And, I would like to say that I touched on it a little bit last episode, that, I've been in my dark places. I've dealt with my demons, and, you make the jokes and you see the memes. I am one with my demons. There's some truth to that. And I think as men, we tend to sometimes kind of just brush over things a little too easy, therefore creating this empty void on the outside, and we kind of just forget to be ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's kind of a learned skill, right? It's something that, we kind of just hold on to over time. I'd like to, kind of shout this out too, is I feel like in today's world, the younger generations do a little bit better about talking than maybe, which is interesting.
So in their phones and stuff, and we weren't.
Which, yeah, I know, right? And it's really interesting, but they also, I feel like that mental space is much more prevalent nowadays. Like
Mm-hmm.
people are taking care of it a bit more. I mean, at least in my experience, it seems like it is. I think any, guys or really any people from, their mid 20s up to their 40s, that's that age range where I feel like that navigation of kind of what you were just saying, holding on to it, not opening up about the hard shit and
Yeah.
just letting it roll. That's that age range that kind of struggles about it. And I mean, personally, and this doesn't apply to everybody, but I mean, there are definitely people who can communicate really well out there. But at, the same time, there's also the other end of the spectrum where there's a lot of people who aren't. And it's just interesting to kind of take a look at it and see where people are now and, you know, all of the changes and the things that are going on in the world around us, for sure.
I think, kind of to touch on that just a little bit more and everything. It is a unique point that the other week I was helping some service guys out do some escalator stuff and everything, and we went uptown. Not gonna say where, but we went uptown, and the amount of young people that I saw in business, professional jobs like yourself, just out going to lunch and everything. We were just trying to get a quick bite to eat and stuff. The amount of young people in business professional jobs and stuff, like I'm talking like early 20s, young, compared to blue collar life. Like I see like for every 1 to 2 early 20-year-olds that I see, there's 15 to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds out there. It's just crazy that they're navigating into that space and they're kind of taking over, and they're so much more social and stuff. And I would say also a little bit more confident, but like naturally in the forefront of things. But it's just interesting because then you also see on the same token that these are the same ones that struggle mentally and struggle, to express themselves in certain situations, or they don't necessarily deal with the frustrations of, criticism and stuff like we do. And not to say that we handle it better, but, we had a little bit more thicker skin growing up because, we dealt with a lot of, at least my experience, I dealt with a lot of jokes and ridicule, and obviously you kind of see the persona and attire and lifestyle choices that I make with myself. So that doesn't always bode well with everyone, but we had to have thick skin, but we also didn't have we come from that age where social media and the internet and stuff kind of, we were on both sides. We were before it and with it. So it's been both good and bad because you kind of hold on to the nostalgia of not having it.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to navigate with the space of being in the social media era. And sometimes it's weird.
I know, right? And to the overarching theme here too, I think it's cool to, kind of call this out as, you just said we kind of saw all these different phases as stuff has changed, right? And it's like, where's our consistency? Because we have experienced VHS tapes, we've experienced DVDs,
God, calling our age out, man,
right?
Jesus
and then
Christ.
like the Blu-ray to the MySpaces of the world, to the Facebooks, now Instagram and TikTok, and all of these different like changes and sub changes to all of these different genres of things that have just happened throughout the world and history, I guess is what we can call it. And it's, how do you stay buttoned up in that space? Is like, it takes forever to learn them. It takes forever to get comfortable with these things, but I feel like it's always constantly changing. And it's like, how do you stay in a consistent space of, being able to be presentable in a space and, be yourself in those spaces? And I just think it's really interesting to watch how it all develops and how people have developed over time. It's really cool.
I think, there's so many different aspects in today's world with, the ease of access and stuff with social media and what's readily available at your fingertips and what's readily available for you to view and access and to Google and search and find information on. and stuff, and like I said, I think it's both a blessing and a curse, because with every good there's always a bad. For every gentleman there's always a demon, and with every demon there's always a gentleman hiding, and vice versa. There's so many layers to everything, but when you take that a step further, I feel like that's where some issues sort of come to play, because you have the social media, you have the readiness available, you have so many people just literally walking around, cameras at the ready, and you might not even be doing anything that's out of your normal, but to somebody that's filming you and stuff, you're the most
could be making a living off
outlandish.
that.
Yeah, you're the most
It's wild,
outlandish
isn't it?
person. It's just like the way that things have progressed and developed and changed. That was my shoes, not my ass. I'm sorry. The way that things have changed and progressed, it's crazy to see, where we are now versus where we were even 5-10 years ago. But I think with the development of technology and social media and internet these days, that stuff is progressing, I would say, faster than we are as people. We aren't growing as fast as the things around us are, and I think we're struggling slightly in our own self-identity and self-development and self-growth, and we kind of sort of battle with these inner thoughts and demons and inner dialogues that we carry with ourselves every day because of how fast everything else is moving, that we're just not prepared. And we're putting on this front, we're putting on our suit, and we're pushing up our tie, and we're trying to keep up, but we're 2 steps behind.
Right.
In the metaphorical sense. And I think that's kind of where, it gets tricky and it gets challenging, because it's like, how do you, if you already feel like you're so far behind, you already feel like you're 2 steps back, how do you, okay, I need to, just let this out. I need to kind of navigate in this space and figure out that it's okay to carry this weight with me, to, not be the best version of myself, or maybe even, not even know what all you need to say and do in every moment, in every situation.
Yeah, for sure.
But how to navigate it. And I think that's both interesting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think, in your lifetime, if you're lucky enough, that I would say that sweet spot number is anywhere from 3 to 5. If you can have 3 to 5 relationships that really are long lasting, where, you have a friend who is a sounding board for you, someone that you can lean on and can catch everything. And basically what I mean, and this is that elite friend in your life. It's that one person who can be all 5, someone who can make you laugh, someone you can have fun with, someone you can be yourself with, someone you can be emotional with. If they can do all of those things and be your sounding board across all of those topics, like, you got to have that person. But not everybody is going to be able to fulfill that role, right? So, like, if you can have those people who can be combinations of those things, it's going to be really important to have throughout your life.
Just want to point out, he's never going to admit it, but he just described me in his life, and vice versa. He fits that void and role for me as well.
Yeah,
void first.
But no, I really do think it's important. And with kind of what you were talking about a little bit, I think everybody to some degree are going to carry demons. Everybody's going to have a weight. It's a non-negotiable in what is life. We're all going to carry stuff. And there's stuff that, in my personal opinion, there's things that you just may want to let lie.
Yeah.
There's not a need to talk about it. Stuff just happens. It might be hard and it might be heavy, but at the end of the day, let it lie. And then at the same time, there are things that are very pressing to talk about, and that, we have to put out there. And, if it's that unresolved, unspoken stuff that you've just let compound year over year over year and just haven't done anything about it, those things will catch up to you someday.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just, I'm speaking from personal experience, and I know plenty of people who have had that happen. Everybody's moment that breaks them will come eventually. And, it's how you navigate it after that and what do you do to put yourself in a position to minimize those things happening again. And I know for me, just going to therapy has been a huge thing for me to talk about it, because one thing that, you know, I think is important to acknowledge is like to not bleed on the people who didn't cut you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, to me, therapy is a great place for that.
Yeah.
It's somewhere and with someone who has made me feel, you know, pretty safe in a space, to just talk about all of this shit that I've carried forever. And I really only say that and bring it up as a point to, you know, I could talk to you about that.
Yeah.
We've been boys for years. I could talk to you about of that.
And we have. There's
and
another
we
point.
have. And you know, it's not that we haven't, but that is a dedicated time each and every week for me to solely dive into that stuff.
Yep.
To practice, you know, because communication, you got to practice it. It doesn't, if it doesn't come naturally. I wasn't good at that shit when I first started. It was hard. And then over time, now I go in there and I have structure to my appointments and things like that. And it actually is really great. But I say all that to say, like, you know, you might not be the only person that I can lean into with every heavy thing.
Yeah.
I know that I can, and I know that there will be times where I do. Communication is important, right? Because I can tell you about those things because it makes up who I am and you can know it. But do I always have to have that deep conversation with just you about all of it? No. But there's that underlying thing that, you know, sets there that, you know, between a lot of friends and a lot of people that you have those relationships with, that if I needed to, I can.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, really important to establish, because at some point or another, I guess where like my mind goes is those people that you love and care about start carrying the weight of what you carry.
To some degree.
To some degree. And it's hard to always just unleash that onto them, at least in my opinion. So that's why I think that it's important to have different outlets and different people that you talk to, and also just to gain different perspective, because so many different people have different thoughts and ideas.
To take some of that a little step further, for one, we're not preaching that you men need to go and seek therapy, but we are also advocating for therapy. Now, we come from two different backgrounds. I chose the route to be able to deal with and navigate my inner demons and dark places and things that I was going through personally myself. Just a goal and a tone I set for myself that I wanted to be able to figure it out and do it to the best of my ability myself. And I would say in the 10, 15 years that you've known me, you've kind of seen that development through those phases of struggle and depression and whatnot. And then he, on the other hand, has, you know, been a advocate for going to a therapist and routinely seeking out that avenue, and it's benefited him well, and I've seen the changes and benefits of that for him and things. So we are there for both sides.
Oh,
but
for sure.
To go a little bit deeper into the topic of, you know, the many faces that we wear, I think is a great example of how that goes. And, you know, you have all these friends and whatnot, and most people, I would say, tend to operate with a decent sized friend group. It's not obviously until you get a little bit older that the friend group starts to dwindle, and your real people, your real friends and people that are there for you tend to kind of show themselves and everything. And it can be a lot to carry a lot of weight for everything that you're burdened with, for lack of a better word, from your friends and your family and whatnot. And that's where, you know, you tend to bring this baggage of unnecessary things. You just tend to have to find that balance of, you know, what's yours to carry and what's yours not to carry. Sometimes you're just an ear to people. You don't carry everything that they tell you. Everything that they tell you is not yours to bear. It's just, you're honestly just an ear. And sometimes it's okay to let it go in one and out the other. You know, you don't have to sit there and hold the weight of everything. You're not their crutch. You're not their lifeline. You are their support system. You are there in those ways that sometimes you want somebody to be there for you, but you're not going to ask for it.
Yeah.
And I think as men, more often than not, we don't ask for it.
Yeah, we definitely don't.
And we have been, like we've said multiple times, and we probably will say 1,000 times, been friends for 15 plus years now going on. And there's a balance that we have kind of developed, and it's going to be different for everybody. But I would say we get together fairly often. You know, it's changed.
We had a
over
lot
the
more
years.
recently, which has been
Definitely
good.
A lot more
Yeah,
recently.
that consistent schedule has really started to help kind of shift the dynamic of the relationship again. Because, like, you know, we've been boys for a long time. There have been periods where we would go stretches without seeing one another.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that can kind of impact relationships too. But, you know, here lately, we've been really on a good pace, and it's, been really beneficial.
I think, you know, there's good and bad to that. Just like there's good and bad to everything. You know, you got to be able to. We're doing the podcast and stuff now, so we're creating work for ourselves essentially, which is sometimes can create strain and stuff on a friendship and relationship and things like that. But I think as long as we've been friends, we've been able to find a balance. But what do you say? Like back in our heyday, we would get together almost every weekend, if not on average three weekends a month. And,
Yeah.
Right. Because we live several hours apart from one another, and we'd get together that often. You know, spend weekends together, sometimes weeks. And I would say out of all that time, right? So we're hanging out a good bit. Once a month, maybe once every 5-6 weeks, we would really kind of like just deep dive into like how are you really doing, you know, like what's been going on with you mentally, emotionally, and we would have one of those talks. Not your typical bro talks.
No,
More
it's
of
a
those
check-in.
deeper level conversations that men don't typically have. And it's not something that we have often. And, you know, even with him doing therapy and whatnot, and we're kind of in two different realms of life and our situations and stuff right now, you know, we sometimes still have those conversations, but it's few and far between in the sense that it's more meaningful and impactful when we have those conversations. Because it's needed, it's warranted, but it's also, hey, not to burden you with everything, but kind of like what we're used to and we've done it before. This is what's going on. This is how I feel about it. And then we'll let each other know, like, hey, I just need you to listen, or hey, I actually need some advice on this. But I can say from my experience, and I'll let you, you know, reiterate on your side. But I think for me, what that's done has allowed me to kind of have a different thought process when it comes to how I deal with things and how, more importantly, I carry things as a man and how I show my cards. Because as men, we don't want to show very many cards at all.
Yeah. And no, definitely. And I think that showing your cards, you know, it does require a lot of strength there too. It's, you know, really easy for people to keep their cards hidden, and it does require strength to do that, because the work that you're doing behind the scenes to keep those cards hidden is an unspoken weight that just people don't really want to acknowledge. And then at the same time, on the flip side, talking about it and showing your cards also requires a different sort of a strength, because to sit there and be vulnerable with people isn't the easiest thing.
Or even yourself.
Or really even yourself. And sometimes
like
you got to.
looking at it in the mirror and being like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Or, hey, get it together. You know, that's just as difficult as having a conversation with your best fucking friend or your significant other or whoever it may be. You know, it's sometimes the harder conversations are with yourself.
Yeah. No, they are. And I'll tell you one specific thing that, you know, I've struggled with just throughout. Honestly, it's interesting. More so my adult life is particularly like how I appear to the world, like a little bit. Like there are times where like I'll see myself and I'm like, it's positive reinforcement. I'm like, damn, you fine. And I hype myself up and I can do that. And then there are other times where I'm like, damn,
you not fine.
Damn. Like what? And but like, I can joke about that because I think one, just kind of going through a bunch of shit throughout, my life, I'm hardened to some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like when you take a step back and you talk about the real pieces of it, like that stuff sucks. Like when you're in it and you're beating yourself up, that like how you're feeling in those moments sucks. But then at the same time, when you're actually, talking positively about yourself, I think it's a balance. It's a little bit of both. Everybody is going to face both. Just always remember to, try to remind yourself that you get one go at this thing. Love yourself through it and don't beat yourself up too much. Try to fight that critical voice as much as you can. And there was something I wanted to circle back on, not to do a hard pivot on a topic or anything, but what you were talking about earlier when it was the podcast and creating a little bit of work for ourselves. Like, I think the perspective around it's honestly, it doesn't even feel like work. Like we're doing a structured conversation, which is something that like we would typically do just on our own in the car. If we're just up the road headed to a disc golf course or something, we would sit there and have these kinds of conversations and we would just chat.
Yeah.
And now we're just doing it on a little bit more of an open forum. So, I mean, I guess like the perspective is it's not even really work. We're just doing it in a little bit of a different forum. But at the same time, if some of it can be a little laborious and the stuff behind the scenes that you and I are doing, but at the same time, if it keeps us, seeing each other more frequently, we're holding space for us to go have fun and not doing all this stuff and still having these conversations where we prioritize talking. Is it really work?
No, you're right. And I think, this weekend being kickoff weekend, so to speak, not to kind of give you guys a full insight of the behind the scenes and whatnot, but full intentions, we sat down and I helped Buddy Boy over here move 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, drove down, helped him move and do the thing, and we took time.
We getting old. Do you know my low back hurt for like 4 days after that?
I don't want to hear it. I'm older than you.
Moving that damn couch. Listen, the amount of times I foam rolled and massage gunned my low back for 4 business days after that was bullshit, and I do not want to continue forward. But anyways,
I'm going to keep the comment that came into my head to myself. I'm going to be nice.
Yes, I got my back blown out.
That's
don't worry.
Not even where I was going to go with that, but you said it on camera for everybody to hear.
That's fine.
Clip it.
It's fine. Yes, I'm still feeling it. It reminds me of that 100 men versus silverback gorilla. You do with that information what you will. That's what it felt like.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is episode 2. I've kind of already said it episode 1, but I am going to go ahead and say that controversial is not necessarily the right word, but the more obscene quotes from our show and the series are going to come from you and your mouth.
Yeah.
And
literally
you're going to get yourself canceled before you're even a thing.
And you know what? Not to the men. I know we're, talking about men using their voices and speaking up and all this, but this may be for the ladies who might cue in a little bit. My mouth gets me in and out of trouble. Do with that information what you will.
Oh, brother, this guy
this guy stinks. Anyways.
Okay.
No, yeah. Anyways, it's fine. Sorry. My guy's just so resistant for me trying to be a flirt at my old age. But yeah, no, where were we? Let's rewind a little bit. Where were we at before you started aggressively slandering me?
I wasn't aggressively slandering you, but to get back on topic, I think we all carry the demons. We all carry our own demons. We all carry many demons. We all wear many faces. And
Venus.
Hey girl, don't come in here.
That's our mascot.
I promise we're going to bring her in here at some point. She's probably going to willingly walk through the curtain.
Probably.
But we all wear many faces and things like that, but to take it back, we drove down, helped him move and whatnot, and we were discussing podcasts and things like that. We went and bought notebooks and we're planning things out and stuff. And this whole weekend was essentially planned to kind of get this up and going and running. So this is the second episode we've recorded in a matter of like a day and a half. And, you know, we did some other things today for the podcast that you will see before now when this episode's released. You know, so it can kind of feel a little bit like work, but we splashed in some disc golf and, you know,
the girlfriend with some friends.
The girlfriend went out and did her thing last night and tonight. And so, you know, we kind of got some time to hang out, the two of us, and do the episodes, and also, you know, hang out aside from doing podcast related things and chit chat and shoot the shit and go explore. And went and played disc golf with another buddy today and got out in the sun, even though, you know, I eat sunblock or whatever. I don't know.
You do eat sunblock.
I do not. I'm covering myself in tattoos, so I don't need a tan.
If you do not use your sunblock, Mom is going to beat your ass.
Little does she know I didn't put any on today.
She knows now.
Well, yeah, but this will be released in 3 weeks after, so
that's fine. I mean, I guess you can moisturize enough by then.
Be all right.
Fair.
My sunburn will wear off and have peeled away.
Yeah, true. Honestly, she's out two-stepping or something right now. Yeah. She ain't worried about your sunblock.
Yeah, she's not.
No. But, no, I mean, yeah, with all the stuff going on, it's nice, you know, these weekends to be able to get out and about and we still have fun. And I think, you know, something that we had mentioned in the pilot was about how, you know, if we ever were to have guests on in the future, you know, we want people to be able to come on to the show and talk and use their voice and dive into topics with us. And those may be more free-flowing conversations.
Yeah.
And, you know, who knows how long those could go on for with some of the people that we know who we would love to bring on at some point. But those would be weekends for connection. Like, you know, this whole show is about, you know, using your voice and having a platform to be able to speak and open up about some of those things and owning both spaces.
Yeah.
Tackling, you know, the demon side, the dark space that everyone goes through, but then also when you're at your best and talking about it and owning the things that are allowing you to be and feel and operate at your best self, I think is really important. And then when we have guests on, you know, if anyone out there wants to be our first guest and you want to make a weekend out of it and not just a pop-in, we're open to, you know, spending a weekend and making some stuff happen and planning and doing a whole connectivity style, you know, weekend out of it. Yeah. Or it can be a day. It can make a day out of it. There's no pressure. It's just connecting with the people who want to come on here to speak with us, I think is going to be really cool.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a voice, and I think everybody, you know, I think that's what makes people so interesting and unique is the different stories and paths that we have taken to get to where we are, and we're not done. We're still continuing. We still have much to learn. We still have many more demons to battle and deal with and carry with us, and many more faces to put on as well. You know, you're constantly evolving and changing, and your demons are growing with you, and you're leaving some behind, and your faces and gentleman aspects, you know, they change. Your suit, let's just say you wear many different suits. Your suits change, your suits develop, your suits kind of glamp up or whatever. What do the fucking kids say these days?
Glow up.
Sorry.
No, glamp up. I'm cracking up.
But no, I still got Dracula vampire stuck in my head. Vamp, whatever.
I mean, look at the suit. But I mean, even Dracula wears his suit though.
He does. Dracula wears a nice suit.
Exactly.
Mine's coming.
It's fine.
It's in the mail.
That's right. No, you're right. People change, people glow up, people grow up, right? I mean, it's important to highlight, you know, that change and, you know, how things develop and evolve over time.
I do think one big point that kind of fits in this episode, but more so will probably fit in every episode, let's be honest, is that as a man, it's okay to admit that, you know, you're struggling and you're dealing with some demons and some dark stuff and some heavy stuff at that. It's okay to admit it. Doesn't even have to be admitted to a friend, a therapist, a family member, just yourself. You don't even have to do it in the mirror. Just have that conversation with yourself like, dude, it's okay. And not only is it okay, and yeah, it's tough right now. It may be difficult. You don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's going to be okay. It will take time. From experience, I promise you, it takes time. It's always longer than you expect. Sometimes not, but it always feels that way. But you do get there. You do get out on the other side. You do kind of get to that point where you have a little bit of relief and a little bit of weight off your shoulders, and then you can breathe a little bit. It's never the end. It never is the soul-crushing, I'm done and over with, even though those thoughts never seem to elude you during those times. And I'm speaking from experience. He can attest to that. We have been through quite a bit, him and me.
Yeah.
So everything that we speak on, everything that we kind of brush over is more so experience related, not just us talking out of our asses. We do that plenty well on our own.
That's right.
But we also have many experiences. I know we're not super old, but we're not super young either. So we've been around.
Are we officially middle-aged?
Fuck off.
I mean, you are. I'm not yet. I'm close.
All right, we're not going to make it to episode 3. I'm going to take the axe up there and turn
Please?
this into a Dexter studio.
Please? It's fine. No, but I
On
do.
next week's episode, where's Greg?
The bottom of Lake Norman. Oh, don't forget the bricks.
I don't need bricks. You're going in the ocean.
We don't live near the ocean.
You'll be there.
Okay. Be doing me a solid. Just send me back south.
They're going to pave a new road up the street. I'll make sure you're under it.
It's fine. I'll just make sure I rot. It's fine. Just send me up the creek.
Our audience is going to brain rot.
It's fine. The intrusive thoughts and slander have to come out. See, when we sit in this space for too long where we talk about serious stuff or heavy stuff.
I don't even think it's that. We've been friends for so fucking long. We can't help but take digs.
Well, I know. It's like part of the normal conversation. Every like third sentence, we have got a jab at each other. It's only natural and right. It's like every third pass, of each other. Like if we're walking around, like I could be cooking and Dakota could be across the way putting something up on the wall because he's always doing some sort of a construction. And let's say we pass each other 1, 2, maybe 3 times, a sack tap is coming somewhere in there. It's like either
Are you really friends and boys if you're not fucking
that or it's some
trying to bring out the demon in the other?
That's right. It's that or some verbal assault from across the room.
It's more verbal assaults than anything.
Yeah, dude's been calling me Jimmy Neutron for friggin'
insert clip now.
Literally, been calling me friggin' Jimmy Neutron for like 3 years. Got a blast.
Jimmy and Gollum over here.
Yeah. Oh my God. My precious. No. Anyways, but yeah. No, you got me so off track now. I can't even freaking bring myself together. My intrusive thoughts are racing.
It's okay to accept that things are not the best. They're not the best right now. That's where we were at.
Yeah, that's right. And to that point, laugh with your people. I think laughter is important. A lot of people
cry. Bloody tears.
Bloody tears. Bloody. Drop the D and pick up the T's. Bloody.
I was waiting on. I was like, "Where are you going with this?"
No, but no. Anyways, no, you're right. You can do both. And what I think I've seen
That's 2 episodes in a row that you've said something about you doing both.
Yeah, do both.
You need to go talk to your therapist again. When's that happening?
Thursday.
Again? Thursday. Okay.
Yeah. See, verbal assault. It's back. No. How many times have I seen you cry? I think twice. We've been friends for 14 or 15 years. It's been
once with my little cousin Wesley, and then I think there was one other time with.
There was once at Wolf Creek.
Yeah, I think only twice.
And then maybe a third around a breakup.
Yeah, maybe.
I think there was one around a breakup before. So yeah, maybe 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
You were talking about panic attacks earlier. I seen you have a full-blown panic attack, and our other buddy didn't really know how to handle it and kind of was like, whoa. And, yeah, I won't go any more further into that, but seeing that firsthand.
Shit's rough. Shit was rough. But no, I mean, I think it's important to let that stuff out.
Yeah.
You got to do it. I mean,
highs and lows.
Highs and lows. I mean, you can even celebrate the wins. I mean, dude, honestly, here recently, I mean, some of the heavy shit that I had going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I'm not going to dive into all that because all that stuff's real raw. Maybe eventually later on in an episode.
Like it raw.
Yeah, that's right. Raw. But I think, maybe later on I might be more open about some of that just because I'm still learning and processing some of that stuff. But I think what's interesting is there have been times here recently where I've cried like a happy tear because I would say this summer, through my job, I was put in a position to lead a really big project.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, I was going through all the stuff that I was going through, and then had some other, contributing factors at play, family members, their health, and certain things kind of stack on. Honestly,
definitely had a lot going on.
Going on at once, and when it rains, it pours.
Usually the case.
Which is usually the case for a lot of people, actually. And I will say, what was interesting about it is, or actually, not even what was interesting about it is, I just kept showing up for myself. I kept going
for yourself. For your people is important, but inevitably, you can't put yourself on the back burner because if you start putting yourself on the back burner, that's when everything else falls to shit. And from experience.
And I'll tell you, like, for me, the stuff that I need to keep myself charged is simple. Get outside, move my body, and, carve out an hour a day just for myself to just block out the noise.
Outside bad, inside good. Vampire Dracula.
Yeah. And I
want to stay inside.
Actually, I was gonna hit you with I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry quote, but I didn't want to say it. I got scared.
Okay.
I got scared.
And we'll see you next week.
And scene. No, I say all that to say, at the end of the summer, or really it's still summer now, I guess at the end of that project when, things, wrapped up there, looking back on what the last few months were for me, there was a moment where I was just sitting in my car and I pulled up at my apartment at the time and I just put my freaking face in my palms and I just let a few out because I was like, shit, this went well. I did really good on this project while everything else was burning over here. Mm-hmm. You can still make it work. Life is never going to stop. The train's going to keep moving. How do you show up for yourself when the shit is hard? And then at the end of it, tell yourself, I can do hard things.
Yeah.
And it's important. And at the same time, I was sad. I was sad about a lot of different things. But at the same time, I was getting shit done in another form or fashion or you name it. I was still taking care of business. But I will say, something that people don't do is give people their flowers and give people their credit. And through that, and even now through
or
it,
even give yourself.
Even give them to yourself. Yeah. Is, that surround yourself with good community. Mm-hmm. When you're really going through something, put yourself around your people. Those people are really going to help you see it through.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and because that's a time where, you can be alone, spend some time alone and recenter and reconnect, but also put yourself around the good people in your life.
Yeah, I think everything is about balance and small victories and even defeats, It's okay to win, it's okay to lose, it's okay to be comfortable, it's okay to be uncomfortable. I think a lot of times we, especially as men, sometimes it's we're there's no in between. It's either it is what it is or fuck it. My bad. It is what it is. Like there's no in between. We don't tend to do too well in the in between space. We're extremists or we're minimalists to a T. Shut up. Don't get me started. Save that for another episode, or we just let Greg rant about his oddities.
Use smaller words. Thank you.
Odd.
Thanks.
Itties. Not titties. Itties.
I'm sweating.
I can't take it seriously. Sorry.
No, my intrusive thoughts win a lot. This happens on regular occurrence.
This is why we named the show Demons and Gentlemen. Case in point, he's always letting his demons win. Again, demons aren't always a bad thing. Unless your name is just Greg.
Just Greg.
No, but there's honestly so much that we could go on and ramble about and things like that. But I think just to kind of like sum everything up and, you know, drive it home is show up for yourself. Show up for those that are important to you, because the ones that are important to you, you're going to need them and you value them way more than you're ever going to realize and you give them credit for. But you also need yourself. You need to be there for yourself. You need to take accountability for the things that you're okay with, you're not okay with, you're comfortable, not comfortable with, and just be okay with being okay and not being okay. You know, it doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be horrible. Sometimes it just is what it is, and it's one day at a time. It's one moment at a time, and, you know, the best is yet to come, as corny as that is. You know, we've been there. We've been through it. There's still some really bad shit that's to come for all of us at some point. You know, it's life, you know.
Yeah.
It comes in waves and it comes and goes, but, you know, it's not end all be all. And your demons, unless you just decide to give up and let them win, they don't always win. Sometimes your demons can be your homies, and you can navigate in that space comfortably and do it well. Demon homie.
Yeah. Continue. I was just making a point.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'll let you put your little synopsis on it, and then we'll call it.
You want me to bring it home, really?
Go for it.
Oh, perfect. I got, you know, with what you just said, it was a wonderful soliloquy. It was fantastic. How about that for a big word? I don't even know what that word means. I just threw it out because I wanted to sound smart.
Spell that word.
I do not even know how to spell it. No. Anyways, to what you were saying, you're absolutely right. You know, with all of that stuff, and I actually align with you. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna land my plane here. Is it could be worse?
It could, but it
could be worse. You could be the CEO that Coldplay just exposed.
Oh, good Lord!
But anyways, that's for another day. I'm just saying it can always be worse.
It can. You could always beat that guy or that girl, or you could live in Florida.
Wow.
It's only because it's a Florida man or a Florida woman. It's just you're interesting people out there in Florida. I've been to Florida many times. Florida's a great place. But much like every other place, it's always
I'm rendered speechless right now.
Those damn Gators.
Fuck them. Fuck the Gators.
Anyways, show up for yourself. Do
Come
the
on.
things.
Let's see some compassion out of you. Let's feel the love. That hand gesture there really just sent me to the next millennium.
Anybody want to be a co-host on Demons and Gentlemen? We're taking applications.
No, with what he was saying, invest into yourself, put time, work, and effort in, and surround yourself with incredible people, and never be afraid to talk to someone, open up, let it out.
Yeah, I mean we can reiterate and beat a dead horse all day, but I think the gist is there's always going to be shit. There's always going to be the heavy things. There's always going to be the things that you don't have answers for. And I think that's probably the hardest and scariest part of everything is sometimes you just don't know what to think or what to do. But it is what it is. I know we said we were going to end it, but to make another quick point, and something that where we are very different is, and you've heard me say this and can quote me on this, where I have said I try to navigate in the I don't give a fuck mindset. To elaborate on that, it's not to be a teetotal dick or an ass. It's I don't give a fuck about certain situations and certain things, meaning if something that I would used to let bother me and drive me crazy and stress me out and keep me worked up and losing sleep and not eating, I don't give a fuck now. I am in a mindset to where I don't give a fuck, for lack of a better term, to just, it is what it is. I have made that my catchphrase or whatever when something hits the fan, or something doesn't go my way, or there's an extra bill this month, whatever it may be, for lack of beating off multiple examples.
Yeah.
I don't.
Is that what you're doing?
I can. I can, yeah.
I was locked in when you said that.
I'm sure you were. This guy over here is in desperate need of
Jordan's?
attention.
No. I get plenty of attention from your dog. Venus, bring the peanut butter,
Leave
baby.
the peanut butter alone and leave my dog alone.
No. No, it's God. I'm killing myself over here. I am the funniest person I know.
This is a shame.
Just only up here.
Which is a shame.
It is a shame.
You should broaden your comedy horizon.
Yeah, I should.
Your comedic floor is low.
Yes. It's not very high.
Neither are your standards.
At a time. That was rude. It was really rude.
Truth hurts. Love you, pal. See? Okay, case in point, these are the conversations you need to have. Sometimes you need to have the ball slapping, knock you on your knees, humble your friends and also yourself. But again, I think to just drive it home, it's not always as bad as it seems. It's not always as horrible as it may feel, but you'll get through it. You'll figure it out, and you just got to learn to be one with your demons. I have. Have you? Can you? Do you?
Some of them.
Some.
And, some still actively haunt me till today. There are things that I just can't connect with, struggle with, but I'll be all right.
But you're figuring it out.
Figuring it out.
You're taking it one step at a time, one day at a time.
One day at a time.
That's all you can do. Demons and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on next week's episode.
Sure will.
Next Tuesday.